I got here solely because of luck. I'm gonna tell people the origin story if you're new here.
Bullshit.
The origin story of how I got here is pure luck. Ron will remember this because he was back on the show back in these days, but he wasn't hosting. PC used to stream on Twitch, right?
I was cooking.
Yeah, PC used to stream on Twitch, right? Just so everyone knows that PC was on Twitch. I was at home doing nothing, and I came across the Kawhi Leonard isn't top 10 take on TikTok. And I was like, let me see what that from Shaq. Shout out to Shaq. So I was like, let me see what these guys are talking about. And I started watching a couple YouTube videos, YouTube shorts, whatever. And then I found out when they were streaming. I was watching them on Twitch. I was in the chat. I was quite active. If you go back to the old episodes, you might be able to see me in the chat. I used to be called Mars__1up. So they used to have the chat on the stream.
Shout out Mars 1 up.
Yeah. So if you see Mars__1 up, that's the old Mars in the chat talking. I was just a regular chat member. And then one day, I think it's episode 102 or something, 103. You can find it. Before I started code switching, so you can hear the real London accent.
Real thick.
JD announces that they're gonna let a Twitch subscriber on the show. It's gonna be a random raffle. They're gonna let a Twitch subscriber. Just so you know how lucky I was. I don't pay for Twitch subscriptions. I ain't doing that. Respectfully, shout out to PC. I ain't doing that. If you do that, credit to you. Kudos. I'm not doing that.
Shout out to all the members.
Someone gifted a sub, just how like Cheese gift sub on YouTube. Someone gifted a sub on Twitch and it went to me. So I was a sub on PC, on Twitch, solely out of luck. I didn't do anything to get that sub. That's it. They were only letting subs up. I was a sub out of circumstance. Then they spin the wheel of how many subs they had. I didn't know how many subs they had. I was one of whatever many. They spin the wheel. It landed on my name. I'm downstairs eating my food because PC was going live whatever time. I'm downstairs eating my food. And then I get told that I was the one chosen. So then I have to go upstairs, run up my little 13 steps. No setup, no nothing. I was on my phone and my AirPods. I set my phone and my AirPods on the desk. I pulled up. Had no idea what was going on. I pulled up. First things I said is, I think I said, yo, can you guys hear me? I'm English, by the way. That was my first ever words. Then
we lost it.
Yeah, and then JD starts going crazy. Ron starts going whatever. Then they asked me whose takes I like the most, whose takes I dislike the most. I can't remember what I said exactly. I think I might have said I disagree with Dell the most or Dub. One of those two, I think.
It was Dub.
It might
was
have been
definitely Dub.
So then we're talking. This is back when I would probably call myself a KD hater, relative to where I am now, at least. So I was pushing back with Dell against KD, saying Steph was better than KD, all of that stuff. And then I read the comments afterwards because I'm always in the comments, regardless if I'm on the show or not on the show. I'm always in the comments. I read the comments afterwards. People are saying, bring the British guy back. Oh, he knows ball, blah, blah, blah. This when I was a stat nerd, by the way. So I just knew a bunch of stats. So they
stat nerd, by the way. But
I'm aware of the stats, but I don't go to them to the same degree I used to. If you go back in time, everything was substantiated by stats. So everyone's like, oh, bring him back. And then Shaq messages me on the sides asking me to come back. At this point, I'm still on my phone. So for the next like 3 or 4 episodes, I pull up again where we do a tier list one time. That was on Discord. That was a weird one. I pull up. I'm on my phone all this time. I'm on there for like 4 episodes on my phone. Nothing but my phone. Then Shaq reaches out again, says he wants me to be on more consistently. This is back when the show was on Wednesdays and Sundays. So it was 2 times a week. And he said he would pay for my setup. So my webcam, my microphone, everything. Shaq covered everything. I didn't pay to get set up. Shaq did that. So shout out to Shaq. He paid for that. It got delivered. I then have a setup now. I'm locked in. Logitech camera was my first camera. Shout out to Logitech. Then I have a setup. I'm still here talking, blah, blah, blah. This is before I wasn't getting paid to do that. That was for free. But it is what it is. I just enjoy talking ball. Then the panel then they had the Jason Williams show. I didn't have enough motion to get on that yet. So I was still on the Wednesday and Sunday show. Then the Jason Williams show turned into the panel. It was on Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern. Still didn't have enough motion to get on that yet. I wasn't a regular. But there were times where someone couldn't show up and Ron would reach out to me, oh, do you want to pull up to the panel? And I was like, okay, I'll pull up.
Hey, see, boss, I knew who to bring off the bench to cook.
I got into the panel, but I wasn't even an original panel member. So I didn't luck into the panel, but I got into PC through luck, and I got into the panel because someone couldn't make it those days. So then I'm on the panel once a week. We do the panel. Me and Ticket start getting into it. The whole beef starts elevating, whatever. Then I start becoming a regular on the panel. Me, Low, Chill, Fluent, Ticket, and Ron. I think that was the regular on the panel. And then Ox comes along as well. Shout out to Ox. So this is at the point where the panel's once a week, Tuesdays. PC regular show Wednesday and Sundays. That's the only days I'm doing. And I become a regular on those shows. Start making a little bit of bread as well. I was like, yay, money. And then PC changes its format. 5 days a week, I'm now on consistently But all of that solely came from me lucking into being gifted a Twitch sub, then winning a spin the wheel out of how many people, and then people decided to keep me around in part because they liked my accent. There were other people who came up on that show that day, by the way. Other people who did well, spoke good
You have
basketball.
knowledge,
They
but
liked
you
my
lack
accent
wisdom.
and it resonated.
No.
And because I pushed back against Dell and Dub and whatever.
Yeah.
So I lucked into a bunch of things. The fact that I wasn't born in the US, luck. The fact that I won the spin the wheel, luck. The fact that I was gifted a Twitch sub, luck. All of that things.
She's trying to discover another one of you right now.
Yeah,
by
then
the
the
way.
fact that Shaq reached out to me and offered to pay for everything, which he didn't have to do. If he didn't do that, I probably still would have just been on my phone doing this, or I wouldn't have came back because my setup was horrible. That's luck. So there's like 4 steps of luck that I think there's many people in the chat who watch this, or many people on Twitter who I be seeing Twitter accounts. Some of them have blocked me, by the way. I be seeing Twitter accounts who talk about the game, very nuanced, explain their thoughts in detail, give some actual coherent analysis that even if I disagree with it, I'm like, I like the way they think about the game. They think about things in a certain way. And they're young people who have to go back and watch. They understand stats, all of those things. And I'm like, if they wanted to, or if they had the opportunity that I got gifted, they could do things that I do. It's not very hard to do what I do. I see many people like that. That's simple. I'm not saying I am saying what we do is easy, but I'm also just saying that sometimes luck happens, and there's nothing wrong with being lucky. I can absolutely acknowledge I'm lucky. Ron, you're muted. But I can absolutely acknowledge I'm lucky. Anyone who tries to deny that I'm lucky,
which is fair, okay, because being lucky definitely matters. We talk about this all the time with the NBA championship, but with being lucky, Mars, just so we clear, you still got to be nice when you get an NBA championship. You can't just be lucky being there.
Yeah, I'm not saying any bum can come up and do this, but
that's what it sounds like.
I don't.
Well, I'm saying there are many people who have.
Okay.
If you want to consider what I do a talent. There's many people, which I don't, but there's many people who have the same level of talent, if not more, but just don't have. I
want to get you down to a number because I feel like we're going way too far here. If Cheese gifts 1,000 memberships right now, how many people, if given the exact same opportunity that you were given, can do exactly what you did or better? How many of those 1,000? I want to nail it down. First of all, these people in these comments are already basketball fans. So you're not dealing with the general population. You're dealing with basketball fans. You're also dealing with people who are home at 12 o'clock. Okay? So, whatever.
Most people watch us from work. I just want to put that out.
I mean,
that's another way in which I was lucky.
Or that. You're dealing with people who care about basketball enough to be locked in during work or, take off work to watch it. Okay. So how many of those 1,000 could do what you do? I want to find out how rare you think you are.
A percentage, Mars. Like 100
low
of them.
End,
100
low
of them
end,
is
low
10%.
end estimate. If I'm going completely pessimistic, about 2.5%. If I'm going extremely pessimistic, about 2.5%. So 25 people.
That means 98% of the people.
That's pretty goddamn rare, Mars.
Yeah, but I'm saying if I'm going extremely pessimistic,
I'm
saying extreme, but that's only the people who watch PC.
Okay, so how about the other side, Mars?
Don't fuck with PC because of what they see in the clips, who also could do exactly what I do. Like, there's a lot of people, I think, but 25 people is a lot of people. If you want to say in the grand scheme of how many people watch us, maybe not. But I'm not saying of the 20,000 views we get during the season and the off season. Obviously, it goes down off season. We understand what the life is, but of all of those people, I'm not saying all 20K could do what we do. Because you have to have a presence on the camera, you have to knowledge, be like all those things, but you
don't have the wisdom. I think this is just my opinion. I don't think you have the wisdom right now. Let me put it this way. I was deathly afraid of putting myself on camera. In 2017, we launched a film festival in Toronto, and I was interviewed by the news company here. They asked me for an interview. My interview was so bad because I couldn't look up at the camera. I had this camera shyness that they scrapped the video. That's how bad I was at this. In 2019, I discovered that I had a brain tumor. Now, in order to recover from the brain tumor, after the brain surgery, my speech was very skewed. I was stuttering a lot. I couldn't speak properly. So I started doing these little Facebook, let's call it 10-minute videos, going through my recovery of doing this. This is the first time I really put myself on camera. I had a big bandage on my head. I was barely able to walk. That's how I became comfortable with the idea of recording myself. That recording ended up becoming something that people started to be like, can you please be doing these? These are really important to me. You're talking about life. You're talking about this stuff. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not bad at this. That's cool. Then I happened to be in a Facebook group for the Raptors. And I constantly chat because I'm also from the chat, from a very strict point. I'm from the chat. And this dude who had no real subscribers, they had a channel of 200-ish people, 200 subscribers. They're like, can you come on our podcast to talk about the Raptors? And I'm like, well, I guess I'm okay with this camera thing. I get on their podcast. It's the best show they've ever had. They averaged like 30 views. They had 3,000 views the first time I was on. They had 2,500 views the second time I was on. People were like, got to bring this guy back. He's really great. He's really great. Okay. So then I get a job opportunity in the Raptor space when I, because someone saw me, they're like, oh, we'll offer you money to do this. And they're offering me very little money, very, very piss poor contract. And I was like, I could just do this for myself. So I started Pensar Basketball. I started Pensar Basketball, and 2 years into Pensar Basketball, RJ Barrett gets traded to the Toronto Raptors, and I make a video that does not do well about RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes in high school. A friend of mine, who happens to be one of the biggest content creators in basketball, says, this is a great video. You need a new thumbnail and a title. So I create the new title, RJ and Scotty have a beefy history. Sorry, pause. So that video goes viral. Shaq reaches out to me. I end up on PC, deliver possibly the stupidest take of all time, that Kobe Bryant's not a top 10 player and Cade Cunningham sucks, in the same damn episode. That was my first episode. No chance I'm coming back, right? But it just so happens that I was so stupid that the take went viral on TikTok. And Ron hit me up and said, you want to come back? I'm here as a regular 2 to 3 times a week. Half the people don't even think I know basketball. Is that luck? That's a lot of luck, bro. That's a lot of luck. That brain tumor got me here in a lot of ways.
Besides the tumor, I think that kind of proves my point.
But this is my point. We all got the same story. And the difference here is that what I'm trying to tell you, what I'm trying to say is, like, you got the knowledge, but you don't have the wisdom. And the wisdom is you got to be there, bro. Like, you got that subscription because you were there. You got on that stage and you rocked out because you were prepared. You were prepared even though you didn't know you were prepared. You were looking at the data and whatever. You say like, oh, I was a stat guy, whatever. And you might even look disparagingly on that initial version of Mars. You may find it a little bit difficult to even watch those initial videos. Like, oh, how stupid was I? But that metamorphosis that you went on is the metamorphosis that every basketball analyst goes on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Real talk. How'd you get here?
You can suck and still get called back by your own
Bricks
admission.
and open gym.
Also, let's not forget, I'm a DEI hire. Let y'all know.
Another version of that.
Ron, you know it's true. It's literally in my contract. It's in my contract. I better hope that Matty Ice don't replace me one day. But yeah,
affirmative action 2025
or Reds.
Facts.
Yo, real talk. How many bricks did you have to shoot in open gym before you finally
breaks in open gym is crazy.
Real talk. You was down in the G League going crazy.
I guess I was in the G League going crazy. My start out would be got on Twitter. Started going into different Twitter communities. You know what I'm saying? Always shout out L, shout out Facts and Stats. That was kind of like the first basketball community I had kind of like been listening to. Got involved a little bit.
Were you with Faisal on them?
Yeah. So then I did that too. So then after I, started doing Twitter a little bit, started doing Clutch Kingdom, shout out to Clutch Kingdom, which we were doing like a pregame Lakers show before all the games or whatever. That kind of got, a little big out there in the Twitter world. Started to have a debate. I think I had like a debate in Facts and Stacks with Low. That's where I first met him. Then he was like, "Oh, who is this?" I kind of mess with how you did it. And then coincidentally had another conversation with him on Open Gym. So then he had like, we started talking or whatever. He was like, "Hey, bro, I want you to, pull up whatnot, the whoop." Started pulling up on him, doing some streams, and then I always put up on Open Gym. I think Dub and Mars messed with me a little bit. I know Dub did. I wasn't sure about Mars at the time. I wasn't sure about Mars at the time, but Dub definitely messed with me. So I would be on open gym, even like where Mars was talking about if they like missed the host or something like that, that would be like, hey, you want to host today? So I ended up like becoming a big part of that show. And then how did I end up on the panel? I think Ron one panel episode was like, hey, we can get real talk up here. You know, he can cook or something like that. He said at the end of the episode, and I was listening to it. So then I hit Ron. I'm like, shoot, I'll go up there and cook. You know what I'm saying?
Real talk. What exactly it was? Somebody said somebody's name. I think somebody said, was it real something?
Y'all all
I said,
lying.
you talking about real?
Y'all
I was like, are you
lying.
talking about real
I
talk?
can tell you how real talk got on the panel in two words.
Wow.
Pastor Real Talk. That's how it happened.
He was on
No,
before
that
that.
had been-
He's
that
been
had
on
before
before,
that,
but
but
he's been
that
a
was-
regular
that had
since then.
been
Because
happening.
that
That was
entire cook
regular.
sesh, we actually played that when you weren't even on, and I think Ron played it twice. You might
a
have played
Sunday.
it thrice on a Sunday. Okay, so I think like that to me, I mean, it exhibited your mic skills. I think you've gotten so much better at this. So yeah, that's why I think I think that was when you became a regular. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Maybe him coming second in the PCL.
Yeah, I mean
Which
that. I
one
mean, yeah.
happened first?
So Ron invites me. Long story short, David, shout out to David. David, you know, he sees a couple episodes of me on here. He's like, "Hey, I mess with you." So same thing with Mars. He was like, "Hey, what do you need?" You know, so he sent me a webcam. He sent me some lighting as well. So you know, shout out to David. You know what I'm saying?
So I'm the only one to pay for my own lights. Damn, that white.
I don't know,
privilege
man.
That white privilege killing me, bro. For real.
And the
I
dope
pay
thing
for my
about this
own
thing, Ron,
camera, my
is
own mic, my own lights.
there are people here that even in the off season and during the season, there's people here specifically to hear Mars. There's people here that's specifically for Real Talk. There's people here for Swiper, right? There's people here for Penn. I mean, there's people here. I mean, that's the kind of mix of a crew that we have. Like when you watch a team, there's people that's specifically to see Joker. There's people that's just here for Jamal Murray, right? So I mean, and I think that you guys have done a great job with that mix. It's awesome. But I do think that Mars is in particular. I do think that Mars downplays how good he really is. What you remind me of, Mars, you remind me of Dennis Rodman when he first got on the Detroit Pistons. Like Dennis didn't really know what he was. Like this is just diving in the stands for loose balls. Anybody can do this. Just getting on the glass. You can get anybody in the crowd to just come in here and rebound. I mean, defense, yeah, you could do that. You could defend. Just so you know, Mars, Bo Jackson was very much like that. Like, but you can't run a 4-1 in a 40. No, Mars, everybody can't do that. No. You're the only one that can do that. What? You can't run up a wall? No, Mars. Everybody can't do that. You're the only one that can do that. No, that's not the way that works.
I remember seeing you on TikTok 4 years ago, maybe 2021, 2022, around them times.
Bro, Chill really a celebrity, bro.
Yeah, I remember seeing him. I've been looking for this video for a long time to reference it, but I wasn't Master of Sports on TikTok at this time because I was just existing. And I left a comment on one of Chill's TikToks, and he made a video response to the comment.
To your comment?
Yes, to my comment on one of my old accounts.
Chill,
It was like 4 years. He wouldn't know it was me. It was like 4 years ago, and I wasn't called Mars Talk Sports. I was just an account. But he responded.
Did he fry you?
Comment. No, it's actually funny because this is why I remember it. Because Chill was I was watching this. I seen his TikTok showed up on my For You page all the time. I also don't follow people on TikTok, so I didn't follow Chill, but I liked like so many of his videos. They kept showing up. And I was just watching, and this is gonna sound weird. My comment was asking Chill if he was okay, like just mentally. It looked like he was drained mentally. Like, that was the comment I asked. I was asking him if he's been okay, like the past like week or so. He looked drained mentally, and that was my comment. And Chill responded to that, basically saying like, "Thanks for looking out. I'm fine." Blah blah blah. That was the whole video, and I'm for like maybe a year and a half. I scrolled all the way down to 2021 of Chill's TikTok looking for that particular video. I can't find it, but I vividly remember that. And then I ended up on the panel with Chill, and there was never a relevant time for me to bring up that he made a video responding to one of my comments. But I
And you
remember
come up here giving Chill a hard time all the time, and he was.
That was
became
a
a
troll
working
comment.
rep.
I
Yeah,
don't
man,
believe it. That was a
insane,
troll
bro.
comment.
became
I don't
a
believe
worker.
that was sincere.
But yeah, so that's always funny to me. But
I'll be tapping into Chill's.
I can't believe we talked about your
Chill's
entire
TikTok
origin story
streams
without
in the
talking about
morning. I'll be
Ticket.
tapping in. I'll be tapping in.
I
Chill
brought
in the
Ticket a little
morning,
bit about how that kind of kept me around on the panel late night because Ticket used to fry him.
Sometimes I be seeing you. Sometimes I be seeing you do what you do here, and I'm just like, we really do take on the identity of our abusers, don't we?
What?
That
Stockholm syndrome? Is that what we doing?
no, not quite. But I mean, like sometimes you do have some ticketisms in you, you know.
I mean, I think I've always been condescending. People
That's
like
the
to
English
think
in
that,
Mars.
yeah, people
That's
like to
the
think
English
that
in
I've
Mars.
become more vocal or whatever when Ticket left or whatever the case may be. I like to think for the last 2 years, maybe I've been pretty much the same. When I first came on, I was more quiet and more stat oriented.
Yeah, Mark, I will say this as an observer, as somebody who's watched the show for a long time now. I think Ticket woke up a monster in you, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I know it's out, but like you weren't really like you'll talk with people, but you wouldn't like rah back with people. You know what I'm saying? Ticket was the first one that would be like
Mars getting knowledge right now. Mars
I'm trying to think of examples. Like maybe you guys are right. I'm not about to go back and watch and see if I was shying at people before Ticket. Like, I'm not about to do that. But if
you were already good. You were good at like debating already. I'm saying the adding the yelling in the inner. Dare I?
Yeah, but I don't like the
value.
yelling.
I know, but I'm saying like that's kind of like.
But you know what's funny though?
I've toned the yelling down in recent weeks, but maybe it's just because it's the off season, so we haven't had much to yell about.
Yeah, but you did.
Ticket was the only person you ever told
a chat person and called them an idiot.
You didn't talk like that to anybody else.
You know, typical British accent.
Yeah, but
that's now I'm used to be trying to walk Mars down.
Now I'm more mature and I don't fall out of my code switching. I stay in my.
I think Ticket did for you what Sam Mitchell did for Kevin Garnett. Yeah, you know what I mean? Toughen him up a little bit.
We know the Swiper origin story. Jokic got good, and Swiper piggyback Jokic's success all the way to the panel.
I think there's always truth in that. I think everything, as somebody said in the chat, is timing. I started in the pandemic though. I started my channel in December 2020. And then just been up ever since. And I started working in the NBA shortly after that. And then now I'm on the panel. It's real quick and simple.
It's a lot more to it that Swiper clearly doesn't want to reveal, but
I mean, I feel like it's long-winded, but I also feel like too, this is like my third career at this point. You know what I mean? I'm a little older than Mars, and me and Ron are the same age. So yeah, I forced my way into the industry, but I also do think, everybody knows my faith background. I think everything is timing and appointment. I think Mars was appointed to be here. I think Mars, even though you don't think you have a skill, I think being a personality is a skill. I think being able to debate is a skill. I think being able to think logically, develop thoughts is a skill. Real Talk has it. Chill has it. Ron has it. Ox has it. Everyone up here absolutely has it. So yeah, I think it's all a skill. And you have to develop it and curate it as you go.
I do want to say this. When I first started interacting with Swiper, because me and Swiper, we were going back and forth a little bit on Twitter, right? And mind you, these are the years where Denver's meeting the Lakers in the playoffs. I genuinely did not like this nigga. It wasn't even like
But you like him now?
I dead ass did not like, because you know how like Swiper's real like condescending and he throws a little jabs and stuff like that. Usually I'm like that after I know you for a period of time. Swiper's just like that out the gate. So I don't know whether this is personal. I'm like, who is this nigga talking to? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I used to be, he used to have me out of pocket a little bit. I remember in spaces, if I host a space and Swiper would talk, I would just individually mute his mic over and over again. He would get
I remember that.
Hey, he already knew it was me too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But then as I realized, like, oh, this is okay. This is just kind of like who he is.
A gimmick.
Like
Yeah, it's a gimmick. Yeah.
No, it's not a gimmick. It's like he's just he's joking, and he's not dead serious. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So he's not serious.
And then big shout out, like I said, Ryan Blackburn was big and helping me get started. Who will be on the panel one day? He would like to, but this is he's not used to being on these kind of platforms. It's not for, it takes an adjustment to be on PC. We all know why. Just arguing back and forth and all that stuff. Matt Moore, Adam Mades, DNVR, Chris Broussard, who I know personally, Fox Sports, a few other people in the NBA. They were very helpful in helping and being very, because everybody knows me. I'm very like, so I come on the scene and you know what I mean? It's like, it's not accidental. It's not going to be, hiding in secret. It's going to be very clear that I'm here and I'm in the room. So, but I think people were very, very helpful and all that. And then, eventually after 2023, PC came along. And like I said, I've been a fan of the show for years. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, everything's timing for me. And I think that if you're great at something, and you like something and you love something, I think you try to be as good as you can with it. I personally know for a fact, as somebody who has been public speaking for over a decade, that this is a gift that you have to curate and develop, because speaking into a mic and being able to give a people an oration about like history or anything takes a lot of time and talent. And I think Penn, Mars, Chill, Ron, Real Talk, it takes a lot of time.
One of the most sought after.
And then hold on, Penn, I'm not done. Just 2 seconds, right? And then one of the things that the chat continues to get wrong is they believe that it's like people that are yapping and all that. But I do think there's something to being able to maintain a thought in public and being able to do it in a way that always brings backlash. I think being able to withstand negative criticism is one of the biggest skills you can learn in a public forum. And I think all of us to some degree have developed a certain affinity to be able to do that. So, but it just takes timing and all that for sure.
I think it's one of the most sought after and, in demand, let's say, what's the word I'm looking for here? Financially incentivized, wealth generating skills. What the hell am I looking for here? There's a word. There is definitely a word. And that word basically is that this skill, if leveraged properly, can be used to orate or speak to 10,000 people at some point on a particular topic. And the truth is that most people, when they get up in front of a mic, are nervous. They fluster. They stumble over their words. Do you know how long it took me to stop saying in between my words? I very seldom say right? But typically when people stop saying they stop speaking, in a coherent way. They actually pause for like 4 or 5 seconds.
I have that
a lot of
bad still.
We all have tics, right? And even like controlling your tone. That's something that I'm very bad with, right? I'm pretty monotonous. So introducing highs and lows and how you speak, that can keep the viewer engaged. Talking on a microphone is actually quite difficult. I think talking with a microphone with a camera on is extremely difficult. Doing it in person is the triple difficult. So Mars, to finally settle this, 25 out of 1,000. I don't think so. I think the number is probably closer to 7. And I think as high as you may be on Football Breakdown, Rezzle, people like that who come up, if you watch them, and remember the criteria was as good or better than you, as good or better. If you watched Football Breakdown and Rezzle for an entire 2 years on the panel every single day like you do it, I don't think you would grade them as well as you grade yourself. That's all I'm saying. And that's a really small percentage of people.
I don't know, man. I did open gym for a while, and I found quite a few people who I was like, yeah, these guys.
Again, 5 days a week.
Actually, Mars, I actually think open gym low-key is proving. Low-key proves Ben's point.
No,
it was some.
Yeah, but I'm not saying. But I'm saying not. Yeah,
but I get what you're saying. Though, yeah.
Shout out to our Geralds of the world. Shout out to them.
Yeah,
but like,
shout out Gerald, man.
Shout out to our Geralds of the world. But like, I didn't know everything about Real Talk's Twitter origins. I only knew Real Talk through Open Gym because I've only become like a Twitter user in like the last year. But like, I knew Real Talk through Open Gym, and then now he's here. I don't know if I'm allowed to say Jalen Carter's name, but Jalen Carter I knew through Open Gym. and he ended up on the panel, and then ended up getting himself kicked off the panel.
Mhm.
But he made it. Like, he did get there. And then
Mhm.
there's quite a few people who I've had discussions with on Open Gym who like either were very entertaining or knew what they were talking about, or both. And like either because of things like their connections were never great, or
Mhm.
once again, no disrespect, their accents were tough to digest for an American audience. Like things that are just out of their control. Like they didn't get to, or they just couldn't do it full time because Open Gym was on later, like right after the panel. Some people, like I said, work. I don't know how many people in the chat right now are watching this while working, but I see all the time people have their headphones in at work and they'll be listening. Like that's how most people digest the show. They're not just sitting in their room or at their desk watching the show intently. Like this is a 3-hour podcast. People are probably just gonna be listening to it in the car or at work, at their desk, whatever. Like some people just physically wouldn't be able to do the show because of the timing. That doesn't mean that they're incapable in terms of ability. It will once again be a luck thing. You have to provide for your families. Like I understand everyone has life. I was someone who was young enough to where I had nothing going on in life. And I had free time to go talk about basketball for free for multiple hours twice a week. Other people don't have that luxury. I was able to,
but you're ignoring the elephant in the room, which is basically you're just a Gordon Ramsay merchant. That's really what you are. Gordon Ramsay Gordon Ramsay and Simon Cowell and these British dudes been priming U.S. audiences for years, which is, you know, cheat sheet, a large part of the panel audience.
W globalization is what you're saying. Yeah,
no,
I agree.
I'm not saying W globalization. This has nothing to do with trade, per se. Okay, but I mean, trying to just throw in a lot.
No,
of
it's not just trade, but
for
like
no reason.
Global, a global. It's a global event.
Look,
global
man,
sport,
Gordon Ramsay came to the United States and told every American kitchen that they were donkeys. Okay, and people just accepted it somehow. Like he just kind of came over and just said, "Y'all don't know how to cook," and people were just like, I guess this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. There's an actual natural authority to a British accent, which I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it comes
I do.
That y'all pretty much colonized the entire world for a long time.
We can talk about
we
that.
Don't want to talk about that. But my point is, Mars, there's a large part of what you do that is actually just kind of conditioned into the American audience as that's normal.
That's a fact. That's 100%.
I agree. That's another part of luck. I didn't control where I was born. I didn't control where I grew up. But now all of a sudden I have an accent. And
oh boy, if you got an English accent,
I'll say something that Real Talk, for example, will say 2 weeks before, and then I'll say it, and all of a sudden, oh wow, I never thought of it like that. Like,
yeah, so I mean,
that happens to me quite often. Actually,
you need to get that basic.
Yeah, I don't. I guess I don't say it right or whatever. Yeah, maybe I need to.
But like, so that's another way. That's another way in which I'm lucky. I benefit from having an accent that resonated. If I just sounded like anyone else, maybe I don't stick around because it's just look at this guy. You know, he says some stats, but he says stats with a British accent. Yeah. So
I wanted to hear the Chilltown origin story. But
it all started in 1870.
I do want to say this about the Swiper point about receiving criticism. Like this is a fact of the matter. And you just have to be comfortable with this. Number one, you have to be on the screen, and you have to be number two. You have to be comfortable with that. But then three, you have to be comfortable with people that you absolutely don't know, can't get in contact with, may live on the other side of the world, talking complete shit about you, and there's really nothing you can do about it. You just gotta get used to it. But also, maybe take heed a little bit to what they're saying, because not everything is hating. Some is a fair criticism. For example, my number one eater in the chat is Adam West. I think everybody knows this at this point. But Adam West did have a very fair critique. And I do think it was, hey, Real Talk talks very slow. And I do talk very slow. And sometimes it's not great for content or in a trying to make an argument setting, right? So he was maybe right about that. So I tried to address it a little bit. So you have to be smart enough to understand that everybody's not going to like you, but then sometimes take heed into what some people are saying. You know what I'm saying? But now we can't.
So are you going to speed up your delivery?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done.
I actually, to be honest with you, I like Real Talk's delivery. I'm one of those people who I listen more to your delivery, and then I listen to what you're saying. I'm not just listening to respond. I listen to what you're saying, and Real Talk has that kind of delivery where I'm listening and I'm already captivated because he's got that Southern drawl to him, but it's also he's got that like that around the way talk too. Like I'm talking to him like he's my man. So I listen to him in that aspect, and it works. It 100% works with me. So I definitely dig that with him. Mars, on the other hand, when you talk about your accent, that's 100% what it is because we live here in America. When people hear the British accent, you know what they automatically think when they hear British accents, Mars? Smart. This dude is smart. So we know what he's talking about. And Mars could just say, yo, Olajuwon's a great rebounder. Word, I ain't think about that. Okay. But he said it in a British accent, so it sounds really good. But that's not to take away from Mars not being smart, because I think Mars is a very intelligent young man, no doubt about that. But it's like being tall, right? It's like being brown skinned. These things 100% help. And Penn, to your point, I mean, I took a public speaking class when I was in college, and one of the things I found out speaking in public, try to take away from words like
fillers,
like stuff like that, because when people are talking to when you're talking to people, even if you are try to take away from using your hands as much, even though I talk a lot with my hands, but using your hands kind of throws people off. But words like
fillers, they're called fillers.
Yeah, fillers. People get thrown off by stuff like that, and I do what I can to. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm the best public speaker up here, but I do what I can to eliminate stuff like that.
Who's a public speaker that you really admire? I'm curious.
I'm a big fan of I've always been a big fan of Barack Obama, because Barack Obama stays poised when he talks, and he talks with a flow that I can follow. And some people, they don't think he's quick enough. I think that's the genius about him, where you're not going to speed me up, you're not going to throw me off track, and he may pause for a second, and that pause for that 1 second gives him an opportunity to say the right thing, as opposed to and things like that. So Barack Obama is,
but he does do that though.
It's interesting that he followed like the worst public speaker we've ever had, right?
If you hear him talk though, Chill, he does do fillers, but he does it to control his pacing though. So that speaks to your point about being able to actually think through the thoughts. Like he uses fillers when he speaks, but he always is controlling.
I think Malcolm X was probably one of the best in terms of just command, pace, flow, intonation, tone, like the sequence of the rhythm of the words. It was so eloquent, so perfectly placed, and so building to a point and then delivering on that point. There's so many layers to public speaking. And you know what? The thing is that people don't know why they don't like you. They just know that they don't like you. People don't know why they trust you. They just know that they don't, or they do. These things are coded into us. Yeah. And I think that when we're speaking, whether it is the depth of our voice, whether it is the words we choose or don't choose, right? Sometimes it helps to choose, a less complicated word than a more complicated word in a situation. The eye contact, the hand gestures, all that stuff, all of these things are communicating to people. This is a person who embodies this. And I think it always comes down to congruence. That's what you're wanting to communicate with every single word. You want to communicate congruence. You don't want to sound like a person who doesn't know what they're talking about, but act like a person who does, right? So, yeah, I think people are, I think the criticism is fair. And we are like about 300 years ago. Well, 20 years ago, it would be impossible to have this much feedback all the time, right? Social media, right? If Swiper does something today, whatever, it gets clipped, goes on Twitter. He's basically, if he just has to read the comments, it's almost like he got like 1 million people in his living room all of a sudden. All those people coming at him. Oh, this guy's this guy's that, this guy's glazing, this guy's smart, this guy, whatever. This is a lot of feedback, and it's not normal. It's not natural. You're not supposed to be getting feedback from 1 million people. We are not biologically wired to get that much feedback from people we don't know, right? So I think that this is harder than Mars is making it sound, like this idea of opening yourself up to that many people. Pardon?
And I also think too, comments.
You could not, but I think it's valuable. It's valuable.
Yeah, see, Swiper doesn't read the comments. See, problem solved. There you go. If you can't,
I'll be reading the comments.
I love reading comments. I enjoy reading comments.
But I think to be fair though, Penn, I think
speaking of reading comments, y'all, You know, some people have sent through paid comments. And
Oh,
We got
we got
I love-
45 minutes left in the show. So
We got
this is
Ron.
the early
yeah,
we
but
got
super
Ron.
chat.
we gonna overrun because Ron gonna derail us.
And we didn't even talk about the Minnesota Lynx.
Penn's gonna derail us talking about the Minnesota Lynx. I'm trying to talk about what you guys want to talk about based on the super chats that you guys have sent.
Shouts.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. Yeah, the player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.